Did I know that my wife was using my oldest son to track everything I do on my computer?
Hello and welcome to Jalango News Updates. My name is Edimax. A Kenyan man returns from USA with nothing after his mzungu wife leaves him homeless with no money. After 20 years of holding prestigious positions in the business world and earning 32 million Kenya shillings per month, Isaac Gishengo is now penniless. Isaac Gishengo moved to the US in 1987 to seek greener pastures. And although he was trained as a physicist, he made a name for himself in the banking industry and even worked for Citibank. A divorce from his mzungu wife would later wipe him of all his money, savings, retirement plan, as well as assets, and cause him to lose his job. Isaac left for the US when he was only 17 years old with fresh hope and a desire to make something of his life. But 20 years later, he is back in Kenya with nothing to his name. In an interview, Gishengo shared that he used to live in the state of Pennsylvania. I will quote Isaac's words, "My two brothers and uncle were there and invited me to go to college, and behold, I was accepted. They gave me tough love, struggled there for 4 years to the point I was homeless for 3 months and still going to school. I used to sleep in an old car during the winter and thought of returning home. After school, Gishengo did some odd jobs to survive, and in 1996, he got married. During the same year, he got a job at a bank as a salesman, and after posting good results, he was promoted from customer service to assistant manager. In less than 6 months, I became a manager. I started going to school for banking because I was a physicist. I was promoted again and became a regional manager and used to manage 13 branches with over 50 employees," he said. The chief executive officer later approached him to manage the cash management department, and after 14 years, Citibank, the third biggest bank in USA, came calling and asked him to establish government banking for them. "I was managing 6.4 trillion Kenya shillings, which is equivalent to 40 billion USD dollars, before I left last year. I was the vice president for Citibank Public Farms, so I was managing money for the government in Pennsylvania, New York, Washington, D.C., and California," he said. In 1998, we had our first son, an engineer who is now 26 years old. And in 2004, we had the second one, who is now 20 years old. When we met, it was not love at first sight, and we later had children. At the time, I was focused on my career and raising kids. After 2 years, I borrowed money and bought a piece of land and a house. We stayed in it for 4 years before buying a bigger house," added the father of two. According to Gishengo, while he worked very hard, his wife just spent money carelessly. "My biggest mistake was opening a joint account where my employers used to send my salary. The kids used to wear the most expensive labels in the market. I used to complain, then I later stopped complaining," explained Mr. Isaac of his auditor wife. "In 2007, I paid for her accounting degree. I was working 2 jobs in the bank and driving limousines. In the year 2004, they invited his mom to raise the 2 boys, and she did it up to 2019. He also invited his sisters, and they all saw what was happening but couldn't talk, as their kin told them it would cause problems for him. There was tension, especially when my mother and sister talked in Gikuyu. She would think they were talking behind her back. My in-laws came and built a house right opposite ours, and it became a problem." Those are the words of Mr. Isaac. He continued, "They took over our house, and I protested that these were our children and we would raise them the way we wanted, but was the odd man out, and the best thing my mom did was just observe." The former banker, who used to make 32 million Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to 200,000 USD dollars, claimed that some wazungus are not angels. They will study a person, see the potential to make money, capitalize on it, and in his case, he lost everything. He said, There were also bonuses and she would time them. I also had a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool. She spent 16 million Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to 100,000 USD dollars, for remodeling the kitchen and a similar amount for landscaping. She was trying to prove to her parents that she was capable, and she wasn't. She was making 8 million Kenyan shillings per month after working for 20 years. Although Gishengo tried to teach his kids they couldn't have everything, their grandparents spoiled them with all they wanted. They went on vacations and held parties for shows. She only wanted to associate with rich people and would cook food for whites only because she didn't like poor Africans. I'll quote his words again. I started a personal account, but a lot of my resources went to help my brother who got sick and later died. 8 years ago, we started quarreling and she would demean me in front of my mother. She would cook her breakfast and would not even offer me any. And when my mom made me eggs, my wife would ask why, and yet I am not a kid. I kept quiet to protect my mother. In 2019, she started mistreating my mom, and my mom would sleep crying and she later came home, he added. As Gishengo fought to settle his mom in Kenya, his wife used their oldest son to track his transactions online, and he found his accounts at Equity and Citibanks. He said, in 2022, I was in the house when the police came and served Gishengo divorce papers while the wife was also in the house. I packed not knowing where I was going, and in 2 weeks I was served with alimony and child support papers. We had a hearing in less than a month, and I had to pay her 1.6 million Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to 10,000 USD dollars a month. My paycheck was now 48,000 Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to $300. And within the same week, I was served with another order that they were going to freeze my account. I checked our joint account and she had already moved 6.4 million Kenyan shillings money to personal account, and there was only 241,000 Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to 1,500 USD dollars left. Gishengo assets were frozen because the wife said he would take their money to Kenya. They froze my retirement, my pension. I didn't know where to go. With the little money I had, I said let me just go back to Kenya as it would worsen. I only took 2 suitcases and came back, he said. At work, I was told that you can only work remotely in another country for so long. Depression hit me. I didn't plan myself well, and my lawyer started colluding with my wife. 2 months later, they eliminated my department. Gishengo was never allowed to give up his side, and he had to relinquish everything to his wife, including his retirement money and their house. I owe her 6.8 million Kenyan shillings in alimony arrears and was facing contempt of court charges with a risk of jail term and my passports being confiscated, he said. Gishengo almost ended his life at the expressway because of his predicament. He is now looking for another job. Thank you so much for tuning in to Jalango TV. My name is Eddie Max.